petitions representing the voice of the people. This is how progressive grassroots leadership looks like. This is what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez embodies. This is how we save our future. But right now, I'm honored to be here at the Renaissance High School of Musical Theater and Technology for the inauguration of our Congresswoman, whom, without the efforts and support of Principal Maria Herrera, Kim Conroe, and their amazing staff, along with Jay Hernandez, this would not be possible. Thank you. Also, special thanks to Hannah Ron and John Sulwada and the 45th Precinct for all their help and assistance. Thank you. We have a group of amazing students, community leaders, and elected officials here to celebrate this monumental event. Today, we band together as a community to empower the people in our district and beyond in the fight for a world that is fair, just, and hopeful. Today, we welcome Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Let's join the color guard from NYPD Explorers Program in saluting the flag. I introduce Victor Catano, J.E. Encarnacion, Danielle Sanchez, Ashley De Los Santos, and Casey Tuitt. Good saying together. We can start off. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now, to honor America, Renaissance High School student Luis Ocasio-Gonzalez will perform Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light
have a woman who is a champion of grassroots organizing. She is an active member and co-coordinator of Bronx Progressives, one of the New York's Progressive Action Network's local chapters. She spends her time educating the community about the democratic process and is known to use the arts as a community organizing tool to empower the grassroots and women of color to translate their activism into civic participation and electoral power. She is a lover of her país, culture, and most importantly, the Bronx. I present to you Ms. Samilis Lopez.
Good afternoon. Before I start, please give yourselves a round of applause for being here today, community. Because today is a celebration of what we can accomplish together when we find our strength in our inner voice. Every person sitting in this room and beyond these walls has the power to transform our society. Because when we come together, when we organize around common values that we believe in and puts the interests of the communities first, we will always win, even when we don't. When combined with love for our community, restorative justice, inclusiveness, respect for our common humanity, and the imperfections that sometimes comes along with it, people power can move mountains and anything is possible. Grassroots leadership today represents our moral compass and the lifeblood of our generation. When we believe in something greater than ourselves, when we organize collectively from the ground up, there is no room for uncertainty or fear, only hope. Together we can defeat bigotry, injustice, and use our collective power to champion not only the values that we believe in, but center community-driven solutions to address the disparities in our education system, housing opportunities, environmental injustice, and criminal justice reform. The results from our collective organizing efforts will be how future generations will remember us. So let's keep building our legacy together. And on behalf of Bronx Progressives and the community and everybody that's here with us today, thank you so much to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for bringing us together.
Now we have an alumnus from Renaissance High School who has some words for Ms. Ocasio-Cortez. Let's hear what Alyssa Martinez has to say.
Well, since we are here honoring a strong woman today, I would like to take the time out to honor another strong woman myself. Mommy, this is for you. This piece is called Wonder Woman. I was raised by soft brown eyes and a stern voice. Gentle hands and a firm grip. I was raised by an actress. She played herself, daddy, sister, best friend. A superhero raised me. She always made other women wonder how she did it. Determined, bold, and beautiful. They say black don't crack or beige don't age, and my mom was still beautiful. Working 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. All while maintaining a 4.0 just to make things better for me. The bags under her eyes packed my lunch. The clothes on her back stitched together, the dress I wore for picture days, I imagine how it would be. Without a pay gap. A glass ceiling to break through. No colorism, no gender roles, or fear of feminism. Or had the man who planted the seed he refused to water tended to his garden more often. But my mother did it herself. With some of her battle scars visible, marks that stretched across her body to show her 9-month journey. I know I can lead, because I saw my mama do it. She gave Act Like a Lady a new meaning. You don't have to wait to be spoken to. Your place in this world is not in someone else's kitchen. You will always be who and what you want to be. A woman does not crack under pressure. A woman is not a gift or a prize you win in exchange for your hardships. A woman is strong even in her times of weakness. A woman is my mama. Unapologetically tough and educated, who gives me pride in doing things like a girl. A superhero raised me. Sometimes I wonder what kind of woman I would be without her. See, I'd be lost. I'm not. Thank you. Tiny caramel teardrop that was always afraid of colorful language, it will get better. Dear past me, there is a life outside of home and church. One day you will see that. You let the white kids tell you it was beautiful, and they set the tone you followed. You got used to bitter medicine. Discrimination was the toughest pill to swallow. Mommy isn't tired of you. She's tired from working. Although you don't know the man who planted the seed your mother will always water, you are missing out on a damn thing. And on most days it seems that way. Dear present me, I noticed you stopped taking the medicine they swore was made for you and created an antidote. And I hear you call it self-love. What a beautiful flower you blossomed into. You've grown fond of your farm. Growth is still growth no matter the length of the stem. Be reminded that you are never too much. You are not your mother's worst fears. You are not his trophy. You are not everyone's best wishes. You are your own. Someday, you'll learn to love your collarbones that show. Your husband will sip wine from them as you recite the rhymes of your story. Someday, you'll love her. That girl in the mirror with the defined laugh lines, who holds the hearts of others with care instead of her own. Dear future us, I know you'll be the woman we set out for you to be. You will always be a work in progress, so it is okay to feel incomplete. Your mind is an untouchable construction zone. Your body will always be the temple no broken man can worship it. You will be just fine. To the late flower that bloomed, sweetheart, you are always on time. Thank you.
Those are some really powerful, amazing words. Thank you. So before we get political with the politicians, we would like to officially launch our mural contest to adorn the upcoming district office. If you would like to enter or know anyone who would, please submit original artwork that celebrates our diverse community to ny14mural@mail.house.gov. The deadline for submission is March 11th, 2019. For more information, please pick up a flyer with details in the front. Now let's get this show on the road. First, we have a true public servant, Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. He has spent the last 2 decades, first as an assemblyman, and now on his third term as borough president, working to improve the lives of the people in the Bronx. He has led the implementation of a robust agenda focused on economic development, housing, health and wellness, education, and public safety. As borough president, he has provided tens of millions of dollars in funding new technology upgrades to schools, green roofs and boiler upgrades, park improvements, and more. Please put your hands together for Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who are not from the Bronx, welcome to the Boogie Down Bronx. We are here to celebrate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Thank you for putting us on the map here in the Boogie Down. You know, once upon a time we needed Boogie Down production to put the Bronx on the map. We have BDP, now we have AOC. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for being gracious in your victory. Thank you for including all of us in this celebration. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for doing it in the high school that I attended. A high school where I didn't get my diploma from. I transferred my senior year to Stevenson, to Steve-O, chasing after love. But it was the right choice because 29 years later, Hilda's still my girlfriend and wife, and she still loves me. But I just wanted to say that you have shown, in the same way that so many of us did so many years ago, that you can be bold. You have been bold in your vision. You have been loud with your voice. I remember when some of us, just yesterday was the 23rd anniversary of the first time that I ran for office. Unlike AOC, I didn't win that race. But when we became, and when I was up in Albany, we were criticized. We were made fun of when all we wanted to do was clean up the Bronx River. The Bronx River with the nasty, murky waters that I swam in when I was a teenager. And for us, that was environmental justice. To get to the point, fast forward, where not only do we have you as a leader when it comes to climate change, when it comes to respecting Mother Nature, but now the entire nation and the entire world, to have a bold Bronx Latina telling the world, we can clean up Mother Earth. Wow. And they're going to talk. But you know what? You are bold, you are bad, you're from the Boogie Down Bronx. And you continue with that passion. You continue with that voice. Because Alexandria Congresista, Congresswoman, you are doing this in the spirit of other bold Latinas from the Bronx. Like Antonia Pantoja, Evelina Antonetti, Sonia Sotomayor, Giovanna Gonzalez. We believe in you. We respect you. We respect you. I am proud to call you my colleague. We have broke bread. We have talked about global issues, about local issues. I know that the best in you and the world is yet to come. Felicidades.
Coming to the stage next is the Speaker of the City Council, Corey Johnson. He was elected to the City Council in 2013 and has earned a reputation as a tenacious advocate for his constituents and a prolific legislator at City Hall. He has passed dozens of pieces of legislation that stands up for tenants, victims of domestic violence, transgender New Yorkers, those involved with our criminal justice system, and more. Raised in a union household and educated by the public school system, Speaker Johnson learned at a young age the importance of political engagement. And to make an impactful change, you must be ready to stand up for what you believe. especially when it's difficult. Let us welcome to the stage Speaker of the City Council, Corey Johnson.
Good afternoon! I am so thrilled to be here today to celebrate the inauguration of an absolutely fierce and fabulous Congresswoman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I am happy to be back in the Bronx with so many friends, including from the City Council, my good friend and colleague, Councilmember Richie Torres. I want to begin by saying that this boy from Chelsea is loving every minute watching this amazing girl from the Bronx shake things up in Congress. In AOC, we have a representative who can get into the weeds and intricacies of campaign finance and dark money, and at the same time, speak with real authenticity on the standards and ethics of RuPaul's Drag Race. Yeah! Congresswoman. This is a woman who intuitively understands the future of the Democratic Party and our country and the importance of ramen on a millennial diet. It is not all avocado toast, people. I love the excitement and passion that Alex is bringing to politics, that she's brought to politics, and I know most everyone in this room loves it. It has made her, as you all know, a target for a lot of people on the right. Okay, for every single person on the right. But I urge everyone here, and the people who are so quick to go on attack, to go look just at one. Look at the replies on any tweet she sends out. Really read them, read those replies. And what I see is I see a lot of young people, a lot of women, a lot of people of color, a lot of LGBTQ people, and they're saying, is this what it feels like to be represented in government? Is this what it feels like to be represented by someone speaking my language and willing to explain complicated issues like I'm an adult? And let me tell you, the supporters outnumber the trolls on every single tweet. So I am incredibly proud to have you representing our city and our country to the world. You are just, of course, getting started. The positive effects of your success that we felt already will be felt for decades to come. And I stand ready to join you and everyone in this room and everyone in this movement to make our city and our country a better place. Housing, healthcare, civil rights, police accountability, education, getting rid of corporate welfare, to make is a long list of things to work on because we are united. And you know, because you say it all the time, you said it yesterday, that real systematic change does not come from politicians, does not come from elected officials. We try to do our part, but it comes from the grassroots. Every social justice movement in modern American history, whether it be the women's suffrage movement, or the African American civil rights movement, or the movement for LGBT equality, or the farm workers movement, or the movement against the Vietnam War. These were not movements that were led by politicians. They were led by people who saw deep injustice and who rose up to make a change. And as an openly HIV positive man, as a gay man, as a renter, as someone who grew up in public housing, every day I see Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez fighting for me. And I know she is fighting for transgender Americans and undocumented Americans and women of color and victims of domestic violence. And so I am so incredibly grateful to have been invited here today to celebrate in this important occasion, and I look forward to you continuing to kick ass. Thank you very much.
Everyone I'm honored to introduce our next guest, my neighbor, State Senator Michael Gianaris. He currently serves as Deputy Majority Leader and has proudly represented Western Queens since 2010. He is a progressive leader for tenants' rights, better subways, election reform, and a fairer criminal justice system. Senator Gianaris is a fearless leader who stands up for his constituents and fights against shady deals with trillion-dollar corporations looking to shake down New York City. Not on his watch. He understands that New York needs a progressive agenda and has worked tirelessly to help elect progressive candidates, many who are women, to deliver a bright future for New York. I present to you Senator Michael Gianaris.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Bronx. I bring you greetings from across the river in Queens, where I think we just showed we know how to throw down when we have to in Queens. Celebrate the swearing in of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to Congress, and I do want to do that and give her all the great due that she deserves. But I also want to take a moment to thank all of you, because she would not be here without the great work everybody did to get her here. And you have brought change to this country. Don't underestimate what you have done. This is a big deal. Kind of change, and the kind of change born of bringing together people to fight the powerful. Because for too long, the wealthy have been running the show, the big corporations have been running the show, and the oppressed have been divided against each other. Because those who've got the power stay in power by keeping those without the power at each other's throats. And what you did by electing Alex to Congress was band together a coalition, the likes of which is going to change this country for the better. When you talk about the trillion-dollar corporations, or the richest man on earth, or the people who have been given contributions at an unlimited clip in this country, or big real estate in New York, the list goes on and on. Let's be clear what they do. They keep the immigrants fighting with the working class. They keep the tenants fighting with the other tenants. They keep the LGBTQ community fighting with the commuters. Anything they can do to keep people apart keeps them in charge. And this is the time to make that change. And Alex is the person to lead the way to make that change. She is doing that all over this country every single day. Now let's be clear about another thing. This is not a partisan issue. Yes, there's a very well-known figure with orange hair that's leading the way in this strategy. But there are Democrats who succeed by dividing just as well. This is the time for the oppressed and the downtrodden and those who are everyday people to band together and finally claim the power that their numbers deserve in this country. And we're setting the tone here in New York. We set the tone in Queens this week, and we're going to keep delivering that message all over. No one has done that better than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Alexandria, by the way, is a Greek name, if you didn't know. I'm very proud of that. The Greeks take credit for everything, so but I have been incredibly inspired by her, as so many others have. Her grace under pressure, the relentless attacks that she handles with dignity, because she keeps her eye on the prize. So many eyeballs are on her every single day, and she has not embarrassed us even one time. And we're so proud of the example she sets for us. We are going to look back at this moment decades from now and realize that this country changed for the better the day Alex got sworn into Congress. So let me give her all my congratulations, my great thanks. She inspires me every day. And I'm so proud to call her my Congresswoman. Alex, congratulations. And thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. But now it's time for the ladies.
Yes.
To introduce the lady of the hour, we have a born and raised Bronx girl who has been a longtime advocate for the Bronx. Prior to running for state office, she served in the current governor's council office with a focus on the New York State's women's policy agenda. Her experience and advocacy proved useful as she was a proud force in passing the Reproductive Health Act last month, finally codifying Roe versus Wade. Educated by the public school system, she understood the need to run on a progressive platform that fully funds public schools, expands voting rights, reforming campaign finance, and environmental sustainability. Please help me welcome the newly elected State Senator of District 34, Alexandra Gianaris.
To participate in the district inauguration of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Just being able to say that, Congresswoman, about this remarkable woman feels incredible. And to see her part of that sea of suffragette white in Congress. Every day, we see proof of the importance of increasing power of women in every part of our society, and especially in our government. Both of us beat very powerful men. Both of us were told that it was not our time, and so often, people who stand up to make change, women who want to make change, people of color who want to make change are told, no, not now, wait. But it is absolutely essential to push every single limit, to not accept no, to persevere to a yes. And that is what happened, and that is why we are here today. Progress does not come from what we learn. It also comes from what we are able to unlearn. It took an entire community to unlearn the old ways of being to make this happen. It took an entire community rediscovering its power and its voice. You are all the political currency of our time, and because of you, we are here today. As long as we seize our power and we speak, and do not hand over the power to big donors or special interests, this is what we can expect. Together, we have learned that what transforms people's lives and communities is not fear, it's not intimidation, and it's certainly not political angling. It is love. It's about fighting cynicism with eternal, unending, deep optimism. It's about knowing that things can be better and acting on that conviction. It's about transformational politics. It's an earnest politics that takes the powers that are vested in all of our elected leaders and uses them to lift up and energize our communities. A politics that has at its primary aim raising all of us up to meet our potential. It is a politics of love, a depth, a strength, and it is a politics that makes all of us better. Our victories have had consequences. You can see it in the progressive legislation already passed in the state, but you can especially see it in how Alex AOC, as we like to call her, has changed the conversation in Washington. She has made people accountable. She has spoken about things that people have been afraid to speak about. She has brought us the Green New Deal. And probably most importantly, she's just gotten started. We will continue to need your strong active support because old powers are still strong and they are scared, and they will do everything that they can to reverse everything that we are trying to do. And I know you will continue to stand with us. Now, I have the honor to also introduce another very powerful woman, the judge who will administer the oath for AOC. Judge Jenny Rivera is the perfect person for that assignment, since she has spent her career working for the people. She worked for the Legal Aid Society's Homeless Family Rights Project, for the Puerto Rican Legal Defense and Education Fund, and she was New York Special Deputy Attorney General for Civil Rights. She was also director of the CUNY Law School Center on Latino and Latina Rights and Equity, and she currently is one of 7 judges on the New York State Court of Appeals, the highest court in the state of New York. Judge Rivera and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, thank you for having me here today. It is an absolute honor. And I have to say, in the words of a very brave young woman who spoke before me, you are never too much.
That you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That you take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter, so help you God. Congratulations.
for being here today, for joining us today. I want to begin by offering my thanks to everyone here, both physically and in spirit. Thank you to all of our elected officials that were here today to offer their kind words and their presence. I cannot thank you all enough. Thank you to our local community leaders and organizers, Samaris Lopez and Aisha Gomez, for their remarks and for their continued work and leadership in the community. Thank you to our ASL interpreters who are expanding the access to make sure that all people, regardless of ability, can enjoy this moment. Thank you to our color guard from our Junior Explorers program. Thank you to our Star Spangled Banner singer, Luis Ocasio-Gonzalez, no relation, but it's a good year for Ocasios. And our spoken word artist, Alisa Martinez, of this very high school, the Renaissance School of Musical Theater and Technology. Thank you to my family, to my cousins who taught me to treat everyone like a prima or primo. To my mother, who cleaned houses to give me every opportunity I ever had. And who taught me to always be proud of who we are and where we come from, no matter what. I want to thank my father, whose memory taught me how to have tough skin while maintaining a sense of humor and a loving neighbor. Lastly, I want to thank each and every single one of you. Thank you for being here, for choosing to gather in community today, and for showing up. Because that is the single most important factor in creating and improving community. choosing to show up for each other. So thank you all very much. Gracias por ser presente y quiero agradecer a cada uno de ustedes. Gracias por estar aquí, por elegir estar hoy con la comunidad y por hacerse presentes, porque este es el factor más importante para crear y mejorar a nuestra comunidad. El elegir estar presente el uno para el otro. Gracias. Quite a first 6 weeks. It would have been earlier, but the government was shut down for a month. We entered and we were sworn in to a government shutdown. We had to navigate a situation, a hostage situation, where Republicans took every federal worker's paycheck hostage in order to build an unpopular wall that the majority of the American people don't want. But we ended it, and we got through it, and we defeated it. But I want to make clear that while us as elected officials negotiated a great deal during that time, it wasn't us who ended the government shutdown. It was you. It was Bronx and Queens residents like Mr. Obed of Morris Park, a JFK air traffic controller and a Yemeni immigrant who called me on the same week that the second paycheck was about to be missed by federal workers. And he told me his story. I spoke with Mr. Obed for about 30 minutes on the phone, and I was able to translate his story into a speech on the House floor. Because in a time when the government was shut down, they were trying to pit federal workers against immigrants. They were trying to hold a paycheck hostage to get people to approve a wall that they knew was wrong. But the thing about New York City is that our federal workers know that we cannot be separated. And Mr. Obed was a perfect example because he was a federal worker that was also an immigrant. We know that these issues, economic, social, and racial, cannot be separated apart to split us apart. We have to reject those binary choices outright. And when we told that story on the floor of Congress, it very quickly became the most viewed video on C-SPAN by a House member of all time. Gesture was just one puzzle piece of the increasing public pressure that made the shutdown untenable. But every single step of that belonged to everyday people. The Green New Deal that we introduced 2 weeks ago, which was an amazing step forward. When we first were engineering it before it was introduced, they were saying she's divisive. She's too confrontational. No one will sign on to a single piece of legislation that she introduced. And then the first day, we were able to introduce a resolution in both chambers, co-sponsored by every presidential candidate, and every Democratic presidential candidate, and 65 House members. Congressman Espaillat from the Heights here, who was one of our early co-sponsors as well. Now that number has climbed to 84 co-sponsors in the House in just 1 week. That is what the power of the people looks like. Because the Green New Deal is not my legislation. The Green New Deal is the legislation of indigenous communities in the United States. The Green New Deal is the legislation of the residents of Flint. The Green New Deal belongs to the people of Puerto Rico. The Green New Deal belongs to the coal miners in West Virginia. It belongs to the victims of wildfires in California. And when we center our communities and allow them to lead, anything is possible. Anything is possible. we actually had the passing of the longest serving member of the House in American history, John Dingell. Representative John Dingell came of age and saw FDR sign critical elements of the New Deal into law. He served for decades in the House, and he had passed away last week, and the House chaplain was presiding over his funeral. And one of the things that he said that I thought was very important was that something that Mr. Dingell understood, something that I think many progressives understand, that those that operate in the legacy of the New Deal, of New Deal Democrats, but also progressive activists and frontline activists alike, is that we do not have power as elected officials. We hold power as elected officials. We steward power for others and for our community, but that power does not belong to us. That power is created by our communities, and that's what allows things to be influential in the first place. And so I want to thank each and every one of you again for being here and taking up that presence, because what I'm going to ask you today is to continue to build power, to continue to build power here at home. Because as we've seen, when we stand up and say that dignity for immigrants, a living wage, an economic and ecological future is not up for negotiation, and we will not take no for an answer for dignity for working people in the United States of America. That when it comes to our right to health care, our right to migrate, our right to live, our right to be paid a dignified wage, we will not take no for an answer. We will not take no for an answer. But the only way that we can get that done is with the wind at our backs, with the power generated by community. So I want to ask you for 3 things today. And the first thing that I'm going to ask you for is to be brave. I want you to be brave with us, because the only way that we can continue to push the issues forward is if we're unafraid to speak truth to power and to stick to our guns. Because what is right is not always what is popular, and what is popular is not always what is right. When we stand up for the rights of people of color, they will say, why are you being divisive? When we stand up for the rights of immigrants, they'll say, what about us? And what we are here to do is reject the zero-sum mentality that another person's gain must necessitate another's loss. We reject that world. We reject that world. We reject that form of economics. We reject that form of politics. We do not have to reject economic growth for social dignity and vice versa. We can have both. We can have both. And so I want you to be brave with us, because that courage, even though what is right is not always what is popular and vice versa, when we have the courage to stand and advocate for our values, we can make the right thing the popular thing. We can. But it can't just be me, and it can't just be up to any one of us. We have to do that as a community. The second thing that I'm going to ask is to work alongside us. Not work necessarily, not just work with us, but to work alongside us. I'm going to ask you today to consider doing things like joining your PTA, or to maybe show up to your community board meeting for the first time, or to lead a Girl Scout troop. Woo! I'm a former Girl Scout, so I have to do that. Cookie season, guys. I want to ask you to engage in your community. You know, so often here in New York City, we can go years living on our floor and never knock on our neighbor's door. And I'm asking you to knock on your neighbor's door. I'm asking you to check in on each other, to talk to people that you've never talked to before. In fact, let's take a moment and I want you to turn around and shake the hand of everyone around you. Actually, that's not a video, sorry. And just like that, we can create community. It really just takes that invitation to do that. It really takes that pause to get to know and really see the faces of the people around us. It's so easy, the culture of our city, to just, head down, walk to the subway, go to work, do your thing, and come back. But when we actually take the moment to look up and look at the people around us, to see that they're, if you do it enough, the faces on the subway start to become familiar, then it allows us to fight for each other. So I'm asking you to work alongside us in creating that community, because the more we create that community here in the Bronx, and the more that we do it in Queens, the more powerful we become, the more capable of change we are. And we did see that this week. We did see that this week, because when we do that, and when we fight for ourselves, and we say, it's not just about any job, we need to have a dignified job. We need to create dignified jobs in New York City, jobs that pay well, jobs that contribute to community, jobs that are part of a moral economy. We do not have to settle for scraps in the greatest city in the world. We do not. We deserve more, and we can ask for more, and if people don't want to negotiate, that's their problem, not ours. And the last thing I want to ask for today is to have a relationship with us, with our office. I want to recognize all of the folks from our office that are here today, starting with our district director. If you could stand up, Maribel, Shoika, Marie, Dan, Claudia, stay standing if you guys can. Claudia, Clarissa, they're not here, Sandy, they're not here right now, but Dan's here, sorry, I'm like, Annika, they may not be here right now, but Ariel and Ariel Ekblad, Kingsley, Corbin. This is your team. These are your public servants. And I want you to know their faces. I want you to see them, because when you call our office on the phone, this is who is going to pick up. And this is who's going to be working for you in addition to me. So give them a big round of applause. Together. And so what I want to ask you all today is to have a relationship with us, because things happen in the news, this, that, and the other. If you ever ask, why is she doing that? Pick up the phone and call us and ask, because our job is to prioritize our constituents and our community first. We get like 3,000 voicemails every weekend, but most of those are not people from the Bronx. So understand, and I want to ask you to have a relationship with us, because the only way that we can continue to navigate and advocate for the community is when the community tells us how they feel. So, don't make it a big to-do, don't get nervous. Know that the people who are going to pick up, our job is to listen, and our job is to advocate and to connect. So invite us to your local events, invite us to your block, invite us to your PTA, invite us. And we will invite you. And so I just want to let you all know that we do have that plan charted out. We're going to be committing to having a town hall every month, as long as it's logistically possible. And we want to create that culture of engagement again. We're going to be setting up 2 district offices, one in Queens and one in the Bronx. And I'm really excited for this. And I want to thank the community for their patience in that as well, because what we decided to do was, instead of simply continuing in the older spaces, we were going to create 2 brand new community spaces for each borough. And so Noreen and Maribel have been really taking the lead on that. I thank them both. That's what our mural contest is for. So if you have anyone, whether younger or older or whomever, of artistic talent, we're inviting you all to kind of bless these spaces with your art. And so thank you all again so much. Create that community. Be brave alongside us. Be unafraid to advocate for issues that perhaps may be controversial today, but 30 years from now, your children, your grandchildren are going to be thankful that you stood up for what is right. So thank you all again so much, and I'm so looking forward to the next 2 years that we have together. Thank you.
For making this day so special with your presence. And special thank you to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, our fearless Congresswoman, for doing the hard work, being our voice, and standing up for the values of our great district. Thank you.